Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Congressman William Timmons. Congressman, after reviewing thousands of financial documents, House Republicans on the Oversight Committee accused 9 Biden family members, including the president's son, Hunter Biden, and business associates of receiving over $10 million from foreign sources during and shortly after Joe Biden was vice president. You're on the Oversight Committee. Can you lay out these findings from the investigation for us?
Look, we've known that Hunter Biden has been doing this for decades. The Biden family has been profiting off of President Biden's elected office in the Senate as vice president and now as president. And we're finally able to get the information, get the evidence, because we have the gavels and we're able to subpoena banks. And we're able to go to Treasury, look at suspicious activity reports. And look, the evidence is incredibly damning. The question is whether the FBI and the DOJ will do their job. Obviously, Durham report just came out. I don't have a lot of faith in them. And we need to clean house the FBI, and we need to hold them accountable. And we need to reinstate the rule of law in this country. It's absolutely incredible that this is where we are. The United States is better than this.
Congressman, what you just said, what the investigation said, certainly raises questions, but I do want to lay out what we know so far and what the House GOP lawmakers haven't proven just yet. They haven't proven that President Biden is connected to these payments, have not proven that these payments are illegal, and they haven't proven that Biden's foreign policy decisions were influenced by these payments. But Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, your colleague, said that it's only the beginning of the investigation. So is this probe going to show what many are describing as that smoking gun, that definitive thing, that definitive piece of evidence that connects President Biden to all of this?
I would just say give it time. We finally have bank records. We have the timing of payments. I'm pretty confident that once we are able to overlay the timing of the payments and the president or then vice president's travel schedule and the people that he met with that are all part of the official record, it just takes time to show the pattern of behavior. Look, we've known about this for a long time, and we finally have the ability to tie it all together, and the Oversight Committee is going to do just that.
I talked to one of your colleagues on the Oversight Committee. He's a Democrat, Congressman Jared Moskowitz, and he said this, quote, "Show us the evidence," and he urged his colleagues to show the people the goods if you have them. You said you're working on it, is what I'm gathering, but what is your response to him?
I don't know if we need to say that okay, yes, I agree. The court of law has standards. The court of public opinion is a different story. And when Hunter Biden, who is a drug-addicted deviant, is making millions and millions of dollars, when other Biden family members who have no skills, who have no professions, who have no jobs, are getting millions and millions of dollars, you don't need a lot of common sense to say, that's interesting. You don't need a lot of common sense when China and Ukraine are largely making these payments. This is a perfect example of the double standards of the left. You have an out-of-control district attorney in New York that is going on a political witch hunt, going after President Trump for some outrageous nonsense. And here we are, enormous amounts of common sense evidence, and it's not good enough. Look, we're going to get what the American people need, and we're going to get what the court of law needs. But right now, the court of public opinion can see the double standard. They can see that the FBI is persecuting conservatives, is persecuting President Trump. We can see that the Department of Justice is complicit. It was complicit. The Durham report shows that. And they're just acting like this is all normal. And people knew this. Yeah, we said it for the longest time. But the left and the chairman of Intel and the Speaker of the House under the last 2 Congresses lied to the American people. And the president's lying to the American people now. And we're going to hold them accountable.
Sir, I hear you, and I hear the questions that you're raising. What you're saying, though, amounts to what has been described as circumstantial evidence. And you said, we will get the American people what they need. What does that look like?
In my view, it is the timeline of payments, the president's actions the president's travel schedule, the president's meetings, and you show a pattern of behavior where a Chinese firm is giving $1 million to the outrageous number of entities, and they're putting payments through all these different accounts to hide it. But at the end of the day, a week or two later, there was a meeting and there was a decision, and those decisions impacted the outcome of that. That's how we're going to show a course of conduct that has caused the president and his family to enrich themselves from his political positions. And that is what will ultimately be the end of Hunter Biden.
So GOP members of the Oversight Committee essentially are alleging that Biden family members received millions from foreign entities in what has been described as a, quote, web of LLCs in an effort to hide where the money was coming from during and shortly after Joe Biden was vice president. So when you hear that claim, despite the fact of, no, it hasn't been proven to be illegal, the question of, is this ethical, certainly is raised. And Oversight Chairman James Comer said this: "We will continue to pursue additional bank records to follow the money trail and inform legislative solutions to prevent this type of corruption." Can you give us more details here? What do these legislative solutions look like?
Well, one, if the tables were turned, and if we were talking about one of Donald Trump's kids, there would be more indictments than we have paper. I mean, it is just a complete double standard. But what does it look like going forward? I guess the question becomes additional financial disclosures for dependents or for adult children or family members of the president. There's a lot of different things that you could do disclosure-wise. I mean, I think that the American people, one, the lies that were told during the last election regarding all of this information, I think we got to have accountability for that. If Hunter Biden is going to get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit on an oil and gas company in Ukraine, the president needs to own that and needs to explain to the American people why his son is such a savant as it relates to energy, or the fact that multiple Chinese entities are giving him millions of dollars. Why? What are his skill sets necessary to provide such value? And the answer to all of that is that he's his father's son, and his father is currying favor with those in order to give his son income. And I mean, look, the American people know this, and we will show that laws have been violated, and we will show that this course of conduct was intentional, was a pay for play, and it's wrong, and we need to make sure it never happens again.
Congressman, you brought up Donald Trump's family, and let's talk about some differences here. As you know, there was criticism of Trump's family, including Don Jr., Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, and the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, for profiting off of his presidency. Now, you, along with your colleagues, are raising concerns that Hunter allegedly enriched himself from foreign entities, essentially based on his father's last name. So what are the differences here that you see?
I mean, I would imagine education, experience, success prior to Trump being in office. I would argue that if you look at their tax returns, they're not very different. Same can't be said for Hunter and for the Biden family.
Sir, I want to ask you a hypothetical question. Do you think that Republicans, including yourself, including those on the House Oversight Committee, would have this same energy towards this investigation if President Biden and his family were Republicans?
I think that the American people deserve accountability, they deserve transparency, and they deserve to know that the president and his family are not profiting off of their office. And I don't care what party the president's in. Obviously, the previous administration, there were all kind of questions about Trump hotels and all this stuff. The Democrats went to the ends of the earth, and they didn't find anything concrete. So here we are. We already have concrete evidence of misdoings. Hunter Biden should not ever make millions of dollars. He has shown that he has no skill sets. He has shown that he has a drug problem. He can't even pay child support for his child that he had out of wedlock. I mean, this guy is a joke. And here we are wondering whether it's inappropriate for Ukraine and for China to give him millions of dollars. Come on. I mean, You don't need to be a former prosecutor. You don't need a law degree. You just need to have the common sense that every single American has, and they know that this is wrong, and they know that it smells, and there's smoke, and we're going to find the fire, and we're going to hold them accountable, because that's what the American people want.
Congressman, when I was talking to your colleague last week, Representative Jared Moskowitz, I asked him about the appropriateness of these payments. He said they were legal, but I said there is a question of ethics here. Let's hear your answer. And he said, we're not the ethical committee. There's an ethics committee. And he accused GOP lawmakers of taking the oversight committee hostage. What do you think of his characterization there?
I think that's rich coming from my colleagues across the aisle who for the last 4 years have weaponized every part of government, who have weaponized every committee in this Congress, who have really, they've undercut the legitimacy of the oversight process. They've undercut the legitimacy of Congress's relationship with the executive branch. They've undercut the legitimacy of the executive branch. All the problems that we see right now with confidence in government, whether it is with the FBI, Department of Justice, Congress, the Senate, whatever it is, come from the left weaponizing government to go after their political enemies. It's being done right now in New York by the district attorney. It has been done by the FBI. It was done by the Obama administration. Republicans don't do that. We want less government. We want less government across the board. I'm a libertarian at the federal level. I want the federal government to do as little as possible. And they want to use the government to reshape society in their world's view. So I just think it's rich that they think that we've weaponized the Oversight Committee. They should have gotten this information years ago. It was available. The fact that we're only looking for it now shows that they're the ones that weaponized the Oversight Committee.
Do you have a timeline? You said where there's smoke, there's fire, we're going to find that fire. Do you have a definitive timeline for that to show the fire? And if so, I would love to have you back on to tell us about it.
Again, this is years of records. We have to cross-reference years of records, financial disclosures, meeting schedules, travel schedules. It's just going to take time for committee staff to look through all of this information. There's additional subpoenas that will be going out, and we will continue to do our job to follow the paper trail to show what everybody already knows. It's just like the Durham report. Everybody already knew what the Durham report concretely stated, and everybody knows that Hunter Biden is profiting off of his father's political office, and there's a pay-for-play scheme going on. It's just going to take a little time. Durham report took 4 years. Here we are. 5 months into having subpoena power. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, 5 months in, as we said earlier in the interview, that House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said that this is just the beginning. So I know you outlined that there is a ways to go, but what's directly right next?
Additional records. Look, we've only subpoenaed a number of banks, and every time that we get a subpoena back, there's more questions. And as we see the web of LLCs, which clearly was sought to hide the source and the final resting place of different amounts of money, it's going to take time. There's dozens of banks that we're going to have to reach out to, and we're fortunate they've been in compliance thus far. Treasury has now complied with a number of our requests. So, next is the FBI. Obviously, the FBI has a document that a whistleblower has said is definitive evidence that the president made policy decisions based off of pay for play, the exact scheme that we're talking about. We've been denied that document. So the whistleblower has said that the FBI has in their possession evidence and that they did not act on it. So we got to get to the bottom of why they're not giving us that document. We got to get that document at the end of the day. We have a right, the American people have a right to understand what's going on. And if this president is making decisions based off of what's in the best interest of this country, or he's making decisions based off of what's in the best interest of his child that can't hold a job. So that's what we're going to do.
Let's say you get this document. Will the American people then see the document?
It depends. I mean, the FBI has alleged that they have a justification for why it has not been released, but we need to understand that. If they want to show us the document and not allow us to talk about it publicly and allow us to then use that information to pursue additional investigations, that's fine. Whatever, that's reasonable. But saying absolutely not, no. We were allowed to view the suspicious activity reports. We couldn't take them out. We can't talk about them. No difference here. If this issue is sufficiently sensitive that they want us to do it that way, that's fine. But the no, the FBI saying no, you can't see the evidence that an FBI agent said was sufficiently bad that warranted him becoming a whistleblower and telling the Senate and the House about it. The same people that for years and years and years had a witch hunt going after Donald Trump, that we have documented evidence that's the case, they don't have credibility. So for them to say, no, you can't see evidence that we have, it's outrageous. It is completely unacceptable, and they will be releasing that document, or I have a feeling they're going to have to pinch some pennies next year because we're not going to fund them.
When I was talking to your colleague, Moskowitz, he did say that he thinks that voters do not care about this. We were talking about the election coming up. I mean, it is still a year and a half away. Do you think that voters care about investigations into presidents' children?
The American people care about the rule of law. And the rest of the world, for decades, hundreds of years, has viewed the United States as the preeminent example of the rule of law. Our laws matter. We enforce our laws. Other countries do not. We are not even slowly. We are rapidly deteriorating in the global community as it relates to the rule of law. The reason that we have questions about what's going on in Ukraine is because they have a long history of not having a strong emphasis on the rule of law. There's different rules for different people. Double standards cannot apply. Justice is blind. So it's very clear that our Justice Department and our FBI, they're not blind. They see an R or a D next to your name, and they act accordingly. So the American people need confidence in our institutions, and it is our job to give them that confidence again.
Congressman, as this investigation progresses, I would love to have you back on. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, thank you for having me.